We can say there are two important elements in negotiation that influence the way in which we negotiate. Number one, the situation of negotiation, the kind of situation that you face. And number two, the way in which you negotiate. So, on one hand, there is something called competitive negotiations, and on the other hand, there is something called collaborative negotiations. It is equally important to know what is your personal style of negotiation. This is what we know about negotiation. It's a style and situation interaction. And this is the real challenge in a negotiation, because quite often we try to understand what is it that I want to get in a negotiation. However, what we want to get is that what the situation has to offer. That is the fundamental question that we need to address in every negotiation situation. And that's why the most important element in this entire skill of negotiation, in improving as a negotiator, is to actually understand ourselves. While it is true that we want to get what our economic possibilities or what our economic potential tells us, the way in which we interpret our economic potential is very different. The way in which I determine what I should get is very different from what somebody else does in the same situation. In every negotiation, it is the duty of a negotiator to know what the zone of possible agreement is before deciding his or her expectations. You have to keep in mind that power in negotiation is never absolute. Power is always relative. Power is always comparable. Power in a negotiation always comes from alternative. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that we commit when we negotiate. When we negotiate, we have this assumption that there are no alternatives, and that's why we end up making mistakes. The problem with alternatives is that we should think of alternatives, but we should not just think of our alternatives. We should always look at the alternative of the other side. So the fundamental principle of any negotiator, the fundamental duty of any negotiator is to always ask for the alternative of the counterpart. We have to know what the counterpart is really looking for.